Hi, my name is Ada, and I'm just a girl who likes to read books. So I thought it would be fun to talk about my favorite books. Um, these are in no particular order whatsoever, except for the last book. That is my number one top tier best book of all time. First things first, we have Beach Read by Emily Henry. I feel like everybody knows at least like the gist or like the synopsis of Beach Read, but to give you another summary. It's basically about these two authors who had a past in college, and they both write completely different genres. Where our main male character, uh, um, Augustus or Gus, writes like a mystery thriller, almost like biography type of book, while January, our female main lead, writes romance novels. So they decide, let's switch, as both of them are kind of in a funk right now, and they somehow run into each other in this small town, and they're basically next door neighbors. And so we dive in. Not only do we dive into their past, but we also dive into their own personal problems as well. And I couldn't help but feel connected to these two characters, where you follow January in her times of grief, and you follow Gus in his times of just trying to find his place in the world. And I love these two so much. And Emily Henry just has a way with words where I feel like every woman has gone through some ordeal very similar to her female leads, or just in general having just healthy, very healthy male characters. Like yeah, there's flaws, of course, but you just can't help but love them and just cherish them and adore them. So that's why I love this book so much. And I was feeling so many emotions. I did cry a lot at this book, especially towards the end, and I just can't stop thinking about them. I love them so much. Up next, we have The Atlas Six by Olivia Blake. So I believe The Atlas Six is my introduction to dark academia, and I've fallen in love with the genre of dark academia ever since. And essentially what this book is about is you have six magicians who specialize in different types of magic. So think of physics, telepathy, botany, and etc., etc. And they are initiated into this magical society called the Alexandrian Society, and they are to study different topics of their choice. And by the end of the year, they are to face one another, and one of them must die. So I think the betrayal aspect of it is really good. There's so many secrets, and you follow all six POVs. You follow all six of the magicians' POVs. So I love that aspect, just because you kind of understand where they're coming from, their backstory, what their goals are, what their ambitions are, and you're just wondering, oh, who's going to betray who, and it just keeps you on your toes. Another thing I really like is how Olivia Blake combines science and magic together, where it feels realistic, but at the same time, it almost feels like science is magical, and I love that. I also like the fact that she adds points of philosophy into this as well. The philosophy part is more prominent in book 2, in my opinion. But again, there's many themes of that. And I think this book is a testament to how humans are, especially when it comes to the power of knowledge and what people can do with that knowledge. So, which is why I love this book so much. So, and if you're looking for something that's a little bit more plot driven, I feel like this isn't the book for that. The reason is because these are more character driven, as you follow them through a trilogy and and you kind of see them grow and develop into the person they are at the end of the book. And I think that if you're looking for something that, that has some sort of like substance to it, this might not be it for you. But if you're looking for character development and just how they end and how things affect them and whatnot, and just a whole bunch of and all that stuff, then this book is for you. And the next book we're going to talk about is Pachinko by Minjin Lee. And this book came at me like a curveball. I wasn't expecting it to be my favorite book, because I initially borrowed it as an audiobook and just thinking, you know what, I feel like this is what should be in one of my reads because, it's a national bestseller and then, it won a prize and all that stuff. So I was like, okay, let me just read this. And like I said, did not think it would affect me the way that it did. So basically the synopsis is that it follows this girl. Her name is Lee Sunja, and unexpectedly she becomes pregnant from essentially, I believe an unknown soldier, unknown fisherman, or something like that. And you follow the trajectory of her life through multi generations. So from what I've heard, it's very similar to John Steinbeck's East of Eden. Have I read East of Eden yet? No. However, but the multi-generational family aspect of it is very similar. So if you like John Steinbeck's East of Eden, I guess I can recommend this book to you, even though I haven't read it. That's just what I've heard. So take that with whatever discretion you would like. So basically with that, you follow the multi-generational family in their problems. You also follow their hardships, you also try to understand their ways of thinking, and it's just heart-wrenching. It's just there's so many emotions that go into it, where at one point you're rooting for them throughout this whole book, and you think it gets better for them, but all of a sudden it just gets worse for some reason. And it just took me on a journey. It was such a long book, but it was worth every second of it. I think what was really interesting is how even the side characters, like even the minor characters, would get a little bit of a side story, or like a little bit of a side plot. And I think that just adds even more color and just adds even more depth to the book, just because you kind of understand why the side characters act the way they towards these main characters. But overall, the writing is beautiful, and it's just so vivid, and I love this book so much. It really touches my heart, and I really do believe that, Lee Sunja and her family deserve the ending that they do, and you just can't help but root for these characters and want the best for them, even though it somehow, for some reason, just gets worse as you keep going. So yeah. The next book we're going to talk about is The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood. Say what you want about Ali Hazelwood, but I love this woman so much. So basically what this is about is you have a PhD student, Olive, who's not a huge believer in love, but is trying to basically convince her best friend that she's doing okay with her relationships, and she's like panicking, and so she kisses the first person that walks into her in the hallway, and it turns out to be the professor, who is not only really rude and really grumpy, but he's known to be a really harsh grader, and just all around doesn't have the greatest reputation. So they're basically trying to fake date, and they're like, we gotta convince the faculty, we gotta convince our friends that we're dating and we're having a good time. So that's basically the gist of it, and I love this for many reasons. One, because this kind of shines a light on the academia side of the sciences, where people don't really usually talk about it unless it's like a major breaking story that you'll see on the news for like a few days. So this definitely helps shine a light on that. And another thing that I really like is how easily digestible this is, and this is just a really fun and cute time that, you just turn your brain off. And this book has a special place in my heart, because this is the book that got me back into reading and just getting into the romance genre in general. So this is just a special place, and as someone who is in the science field as well, it's just a little thing that's like, oh, even the nerdiest of girls, even the smart girls, like that type of thing, can find love, and it's just all around adorable. And I love Ali Hazelwood, and I just love all her characters and her novels. And finally, my favorite book of all time is Babel by R.F. Kuang. I will never stop talking about this book. I will never stop recommending it. And here's the thing about me. If I have an agenda to push, I will push it as hard as possible. As in, if someone were to ask me my favorite book, this book is the first book I think of. If I needed to gift someone a book, this would be the book that I would gift to somebody. And from these annotations, as you can see, she is very well loved. So basically, this book is about this is set in the 1800s, where you have this young Chinese boy. His name is Robin, and he's taken from his homeland to go study at Oxford to become a translator, as the city powers through silver through the translations. However, as he goes through this esteemed establishment of Oxford University, he realizes not everything is what they seem to be. And I think this is just basically R.F. Kuang's love letter to language and just to translations in general. But at the same time, these hit so many different themes of colonialism and imperialism and so many things and so many other themes as well. You also feel so attached to I also feel so attached to these characters as well, as I cannot help but love them, except for Letty. If you know, you know. Letty, if I see you on the streets, it is on. You will catch these hands. So yeah. And another thing is that whenever it comes to books with R.F. Kuang, she is very well researched. It's so well thought out, and you can feel her the care and the love that goes into her books. And I just won't stop recommending this. I don't know what else to say aside from it's just beautifully written. There's so many quotes that just hit, and you can't help but feel for these characters and just root for these characters the entire time. And R.F. Kuang is very good at making you use your brain cells to think about, okay, so if I were in this situation, what would I do? Or another thing is that is what I think this character did the right thing? Like, would I also go down this path? So yeah, I love R.F. Kuang, and I love this book so much, and I will not stop recommending it. Overall, I hope you guys enjoyed that, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye!